Well, Richard, thank you for the opportunity.
My pleasure.
Interview. The first question would be, what's the benefits of a therapist or someone that is in coaching on doing an NLP training?
Well, to me, people who are in the business of doing therapy, helping people that have personal problems, and people who are doing life coaching and things like that, is that NLP offers them a wide range of tools that they can use. That we have tools that assist people in getting over phobias, getting beyond fears, being more motivated. That, you know, and people who are coaches, your job is to teach people time management. All of these skills have been things that we've been modeling for over 4 decades. And in particular myself, I'd say 90 to 95% of the technology of NLP was created by me. And in search of one thing, excellence, finding people who could succeed at things. I've been hired by many athletes, actors. I've been hired by corporations, universities. You know, when people get stuck, in fact, I ran an R&D company at one time where I had people that worked for me, and the same tools I use for personal change in my office with somebody who's depressed, I used with these people to solve problems about developing products. When people got stuck in their research, they would send the scientists into me, and I would use the meta model to ask them questions to find out what they weren't thinking about that would make it so they could finish development on some particular kind of product. And that the same tools that you use in NLP to evolve a person will evolve a company and will evolve an expert athlete. That NLP has a technology of change. Psychology offers you a theory of why it should work and where problems came from, which is good to have, but you need to get people to move beyond things. And the construction of these was all based on that they could be done quickly and easily and right now. And that, you know, from changing beliefs, from changing attitude, from changing all the things that people talk about in therapy and very rarely get done. When I set out to create a technology of change that would work, that was repeatable, that could be taught to other people. When I started out, everybody looked at Virginia and went, oh, she's so intuitive, which is a way of saying I don't have to learn this because it's based on who she is more than what she does. So I pulled the what she does out of the who she is so that other people could do it. Not just with her, but with a whole host of other people. And when I stopped looking at remedial change, that is fixing things that are wrong, it suddenly dawned on me the real good answers come from the people that figure this out on their own, people who got over fears without going to therapy. And if you can find out what mental adjustments they made, then a therapist can walk in and get people over a fear rather quickly. And for 4.5 decades, I've taught this all over the world and had great results. And that's why people steal them so much, because they work.
Awesome. And you know, can an NLP training change and help people change behaviors? Because there is a lot of people that goes to want to find themselves. And I found out that...
Let me shortcut you there.
Yeah.
If you want to find yourself, you're right there, right now. You don't have to find yourself. They're really trying to find out what they're capable of doing and who they're capable of being.
Yeah.
It's not that you want to find yourself like you're lost. It's not that you were somebody and you lost who you were and now you got to go around and find yourself. Even talking about it that way is counterproductive. The question is, how can you evolve yourself? The brain is unique in that it's capable of plasticity. That means if you lose a function here, you could replace it with another part of your brain. But it's also unique in that the brain can look at itself and do self-evolution. It's a machine which is generative. You can learn 26 letters in an alphabet and talk about an infinite amount of things. Well, the brain itself is capable of going beyond what it has learned. You can learn about your learning and do more with it. And so the answer is, do people change in NLP courses? Always. Most people who do a prac course taught from somebody who's a licensed trainer who knows what they're doing, it's going to end up changing all kinds of things. They're going to have less fear, they're going to have more motivation because they're going to understand how those things work. and not just in themselves, but in their clients as well. And, from the day one of my prac courses, I take people's worst things that they can't stop thinking about and make them not matter in a matter of seconds, because I know how the brain does that. Once you clear away all the cobwebs, then adding new stuff's pretty easy.
Awesome. A lot of people gave up on their dreams and hopes, and what they should do instead to have a great life?
Well, giving up is not really a very good choice. I do understand why people give up between government restrictions, bad stuff happening, and the dream being too small. If you decide you can only be happy if you're married to this person and something happens, and believe me, I know personally that you can be in love with somebody and they die and you think there's never going to be anything again. But the truth is, that's not the truth. The truth is that, if you keep looking forward, you will find. And if you make big enough, grandiose enough dreams, then you have to look for, some things you create because you decide what it is and you go and you find it. Toilet paper, this shouldn't be one of those things because there's not a lot of different kinds of toilet paper. Toilet paper is something that you find. And if you're going to find things, you go out and you look what's there and you select. And when it comes to falling in love and when it comes to job opportunities, you go and you find out what's there and you find the thing you like the best and you do that and keep your eyes open until something better comes along, until times change. There are things you can create, on the other hand, because in essence there are things that you can edit in and edit out of an idea, less of this, more of that, so that you can conceive of a business that doesn't exist and set about creating it. And there was no NLP when I started. Nobody had ever conceived of this in any way, shape, or form. And from the ground up, I built these businesses. People have businesses all over the world doing roughly what I did in some form or another. And, industries have been created. These little cell phones you have started out as ideas. One time there were no houses and people started thinking there aren't enough caves and they imagined building caves, and now there are houses everywhere. That ideas create reality. And sometimes that's a convenient thing to do, and sometimes it's not what you do. You can't create, a human being, so, other than having children, and they never turn out the way you expect, believe me. A lot of people come to me and they go, what do you do, when your teenagers are misbehaving? I go, you take a deep breath and open your eyes 6 years later, and, and everything will be okay. But, that life is not going to work out perfectly, and if something doesn't match the idea in your head, and you use that as disappointment, well, disappointment requires adequate planning. And if you have ideas and they don't work out and you go, this is the end, then you're basically what I would say is that's stupidity. And the more you think that, the dumber you get, and the less things you'll see that are possible. You spin that feeling the other way, look around, the world is full of opportunity. There, if you tell me you're lonely on a planet with 7.5 billion people, I'd say you're not getting out enough. I hear this stuff all the time. There's no way I can be successful. People come to this country, in fact, people go to almost every country on the planet from some other country and start a business, and they dry clean clothes, they open up 7-Elevens, they set up restaurants, they make delivery services, and the biggest companies in the United States were all started in garages. Apple Computer started in a garage with 2 guys. Control Data, one of the biggest computer companies in the world, started in a garage. Hewlett-Packard started in a garage with a couple of guys making printers. And the list goes on and on. I met the guy years ago on an airplane that started FedEx, and he told me this idea he had, and I remember thinking to myself, what a lunatic. They're going to send packages and they're going to cost $30 instead of, $2 at the post office. Who knew the post office would now be getting FedEx to deliver their mail? In the United States, it is. FedEx delivers the U.S. mail to the post offices, and they deliver it to the houses. But, he believed in what he did, and he had the most important element, which is determination. You can give up. Better strategy is to become determined. to find out what will work and where you're going to be happy. Remember that.
Thank you. And the fourth question is about creating. And you create a lot of new technologies like DHE, NHR, NLP. What do you think is in the line, the next thing that can come up on human evolution?
Well, to me, I think we're fast approaching the point where these technologies have to become applied more at the level of education. Rather than looking for something new, I'm now looking at how do we get this into the school system so we teach our kids sooner to be smarter, faster, so we don't spend so much time in therapy and we spend more time becoming millionaires. Personally, I think that would be a good idea. I want kids to grow up with the belief that anything is possible and the determination to do anything and the ability to adjust their mind and adapt. It's always been that the organism with the greatest adaptability has been the most successful organism. We now have to translate that into mental activity. The greatest mental adaptation is going to be the most successful person. And, I have a book coming out with Kate Benson this year for school teachers. Start to teach people how to do all the stuff you're supposed to be learning in school really, really fast so we can get down and get on to the important stuff. To me, reading and writing and math and all these things shouldn't take 12 years to teach people, but they're not teaching them how it's done. If we can get this technology in the right hands, and that's people, 10 years or younger, then we're going to be better off. So that's what my focus has been, is how do we make the world a better place, as opposed to, what other crazy idea I can come up with so that adults can go back and fix all the damage they've done to themselves over the years.
All right. And the last one will be the biggest one.
Okay, so a big question.
Yeah. With your vast background in so many fields, like a university student, as a professor, as a scientist, as a music, as in arts, you're author of more than 25 books, international and no. And you stay in the human development field for most of your life. And what's that motivated you to stay in this field?
What motivated me to stay? Well, to begin with, they're not separate. While I have worked as an artist and worked as a musician, I've written a tremendous amount of music, and I sell art and sell music and sell all these books that you're talking about. And actually, it's a lot more than you're talking about. Depends upon what language you're talking about. That, to me, I'm not in the field because of something. This is what I do. I don't do it because it's a job where I'm going to work. This is how I live. I create wherever I am, and I intend to keep doing that. I'm still playing music and writing music. I have a very elaborate recording studio now because technology has evolved. I used to have to go to a studio and record things, and it was incredibly expensive. Now I could go in my underwear from one side of the house to the other, and I have at my fingertips every instrument and every sound that's ever been recorded. I mean, it's phenomenal what's available to you to create as a musician. But by the same token, I now travel all over the world. When I went to India, I made a point of going from one temple to the other and meeting every enlightened person. Some of them were idiots and some of them were magically amazing, and doing the same thing that I did. I extracted from them the form that's under the content so that I could teach people to go into altered states the same way their gurus did. By the way, the Godmen taught me a lot and were very nice to me. In India, teachers are treated very, very well. Some of them opulently well, but very well. And were very receptive to the kinds of things I did and answered the questions I asked very openly, the same way Virginia and Milton and most people did. The fact that I had such interest in their successful performance, the more they understood about it, the better they got at it. It's not just that I modeled Milton. By the time I was done, he was a better hypnotist than he was when I started. And, you know, he recognized that, and so did Gregory Bateson, so did Virginia Satir. They all recognized that the kind of questions I asked allow them to develop and flourish. And it wasn't any different. To me, you know, these people that the separation between human development and religion is fuzzy at best. And to me, any state of consciousness which takes you closer to being able to peer through those pinpoints and look at the face of the universe and God. I mean, I tell people, you know, if you have any doubt, you know, that something greater than ourself exists, look through the Hubble telescope. You know, look at pictures through the Hubble telescope, at the birthplace of galaxies, the immenseness, the size, the magnitude, the majesty, and the systematic nature of the universe is the most intelligent of all. If something the size of our brain can think, how could something the size of the universe not? I mean, to me, it's just ludicrous to think in those terms. So when, you know, people, you know, tell me, if you're a scientist, how can you believe in God? My answer is, how could you not? It's just that simple. Now, whether or not there's only one way to look at God, you know, whether you have to peer through the Catholic door, or the Muslim door, or the Hindu door, or the Zen door, to me, I think, you know, if the universe is infinite, so are the pathways to spiritual enlightenment. And to me, you know, I don't fathom on any level how this terrifies people so much that there could be more than one right answer. And so the more I travel, the more I do, the more places I go, the more experiences I have, the more there is to learn. How could I not want to keep going? You know, people say, you know, do you think about retiring? And what would I do that I'm not doing now? I might play music and go talk to people. I don't think so. I think it'll be a while. Those of you that are hoping for my retirement, hang in there. You know, rumors of my death have been premature. You know, they killed me on the internet in 2002, but I'm not dead because I didn't read it. You know, I ain't going anywhere for a long time. And, you know, I think we're just getting warmed up here. I don't think we know NLP yet. I don't think we know design human engineering yet, and neurohypnotic repattern. These are all views of the world. They're not contradictory. It's not that one is better than the other. They're ways of looking at the human condition and improving it that are different. And they have different models, they do different things, they work in different ways, and they give us different doorways. And I'm not done finishing developing any of them. So if somebody tells you they know NLP, well, no, they don't, because we haven't figured it all out yet.
Well, Richard, thank you for the interview.
You bet.
Pleasure. Thank you very much, everyone.